everybody to Geekset, the only place that blend hip-hop culture and geek culture together. And today, we're diving into The Man Who Fell to Earth.
I was sent to find you.
Now, this is a Showtime series that is a continuation to the film that came out in 1976 that starred David Bowie, which was an adaptation to the novel written by Walter Tevis in 1963. The 2022 series stars actor Chiwetel Ejiofor as the alien Faraday, Naomi Harris as Justin Falls, Clark Peters as Josiah Falls, and Billy Neahy as Thomas Jerome Newton. And it's brought to you by showrunners Alex Kurtzman and Jenny Lumet. And let me tell you, dog, this is a huge mystery storyline through and through. So the synopsis of the show is that this alien pops up out of nowhere, lands in New Mexico.
I am an immigrant. A refugee.
With one plan, and that is to save his home planet. But whoever gave him this mission told him to seek out one specific person who is key to his mission. And that is former MIT scientist Justin Falls, who is clearly not focused on science at the moment due to her taking care of her father and some other mystery that we're going to find out later on in the series.
They're going to take the house next month.
Now, what we love about this show, outside of the mystery, is the fact that it's two black leads in a sci-fi show that's not rooted in some sort of slave trauma. Because let's face it, man, we done seen this trope so many times that we are literally tired of it. And we also love the fact that it embeds so much and stays true to the graphic novel, the universe, and the source material. They use footage from the old films and reference so much that if you are a true fan of this franchise, this is truly an Easter egg heaven. So quickly about the 1976 movie. Newton was the OG alien who started advancing the world's technology with things from his planet. Clutch. But of course, just like always, the government had to put their sweaty, ugly palms into it and started experimenting on my guy.
Well, obviously.
Fam turns to the bottle, turns up way too much, and now he don't complete his mission and get back home. But before he did, he definitely recorded a few messages, Bluetooth to the squad back home. Clutch. So cut to now. Faraday is that alien who heard the message and came to Earth. Boom, the stage is set. And all through the season, those messages come into play more and more. It serves as Faraday's itinerary, if you will. But what's really dope about the show, if you are a big David Bowie fan, each episode is named after a David Bowie song.
You don't say!
So now that I talked about the lore, the history, the source material, a little bit about where this came from, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it off to my guy Bacardi, and he's gonna tell you more about this season.
So the story begins with Faraday monologuing over his arrival.
To survive, I had to be reborn.
You get a glimpse of him in his alien form just before he starts to adapt and kind of mutate into a more common look for the people of Earth. He still needs to kind of stand out, so what better skin to be in than black skin? There's a significance there, so don't let me ruin the experience for you. We'll get back to that later. Flash forward back to the present time, and now you see Faraday in front of a crowd getting ready to tell the story of how he became human. So as an unknown visitor, Faraday is apprehended by the local police. This is where we create his origin story. We learn his name is Faraday, and we also learn why he's here, which he has about 9 hours to intercept a message from Thomas Newton that can save his planet and save Earth. And the only person that can help him do this is another ex-scientist named Justin Falls, who pretty much is out here just cleaning up waste in oil fields, and she lives with her sick father and her daughter. The police call her in, and this begins our interaction with Faraday and Justin. We discover Justin was on the brink of a scientific breakthrough during her tenure, creating and almost achieving quantum fusion. And Faraday is now on Earth to try to get her to complete this mission, as it is now part of his mission. Of course, Justin don't believe none of this stuff, and she bails on him. With that in mind, Faraday decides to grab a cell phone, get some spending money, get his tools together. He decides to do this on his own. He doesn't really get that far after he gets his American welcome.
Fight back! Fight back! Fight back!
But during that time, Justin actually drives past, God willing, and was able to save him. And this pretty much kicks off their interaction again. After successfully saving him, she agrees to take him to the location within an 8-hour window. This is where Faraday makes his first attempt and first contact with Thomas Newton in a lone tornado in the middle of nowhere. But the fast-talking, quick-witted Thomas Newton explains that Faraday has to see with human eyes to complete this mission.
It's about fucking time.
that he needs to stay with Justin and they need to reclaim his company back from the people that stole it from him. And he sets them on his way to meet the Wizard of Risk, Hatch Flood, co-owner of technology company Origin. Hatch Flood and his sister Edie had been running Origin since their father passed. Origin housed all the patents that Thomas Newton brought here 40 years ago that advanced technology to where we are today. After the tornado appears and disappears, the CIA catches wind to this. As you know, they've already been aware of someone visiting 40 years ago, so now this is another anomaly on their radar. This is where we actually meet Clay, Spencer Clay. Spencer Clay, if you saw, like me, in the first interaction with him, I hated this man guts. And shout out to Jimmy Simpson because he played an amazing job letting me hate his guts throughout the rest of the season as well. The way he played in this lady's face in the diner was unbelievable. Like, it really had my blood boiling. Pure villain energy. Going back, while Justin was still on the fence though, Faraday has to make two amazing feats to prove to Justin that this is her calling and how vital she is to this mission. He shows you a very small prototype of the fusion battery and the unbelievable amount of energy it can store. And in one more last desperate attempt, he actually heals her father of all the sickness that he had. This man was immobilized, couldn't do anything, it was a complete hindrance to Justin. And he stopped all of that, took it pretty much out of the system, took out his body. All right, so now that we know that Justin and Faraday is on board, we begin to see that Justin's kind of having some issues with going back in her past. And we see a nightmare of her with a man playing the piano with her. That kind of teeth kind of falls out, and she kind of goes into a weird nightmare thing. Kind of now she's judging herself and believes that she's not ready to do this. And of course, the father has to kind of talk her back through everything. During also this time, we realized that even though he brought all of these advancements to society and the world that we know, no one knows who he is, and he doesn't understand that. So at this moment now, he's finna start deep diving into more of what's going on around him and what's going on Earth. We also get to kind of meet Hatch and Faraday and Justin as they all kind of go meet Edie, as they have to now kind of create a deal with them to make sure they can get into the vault to start working on patents and everything that Newton left behind at Origin. So there's a moment where Faraday got to hear a heartbreaking recorded message from Thomas Newton to his wife on their home planet. For some reason, this kind of puts his human emotion into a chokehold. I mean, this man is just crying uncontrollably. He doesn't know what's going on with him. He's ugly face crying, like real Jordan mean face crying.
These are not my experiences. There is.
But I mean, because of that, he has to speak with Justin. Justin kind of explains to him that this is human nature, how we take on each other's problems and how we feel that kind of pain of everybody. And although he doesn't want that, he understands that he has to start viewing the world differently from this way to kind of get a better understanding of this is why Newton wants him here to complete this mission. So in the background, we're still trying to get the deal together, going with Hatch and Edie and Origin and trying to get all that kind of squared away so that everyone can start their mission. But Clay enters back into the picture again. And now we understand how the CIA is completely involved with Origin, Thomas Newton, and everybody. So while the group is still negotiating the deal between Origin and Faraday, now comes in Clay again with the CIA. This is where we connect Thomas Newton, the CIA, and Origin all together. Thomas Newton created Origin. He brought forth all his patents. The CIA took it, took him, and planted another person into Origin, which was Hatch and Edie's father, to be the face of the company. Clay and CIA are now here to make sure the deal goes through because they need Faraday to make the machine because they are trying to pull Thomas Newton out of hiding. They want to make sure that they can bring him in as the big fish, and they believe that that's the only reason Faraday has been brought to Earth is to complete his mission, but they know that he will have to come out at some point to interact with Faraday, and that's all they want right now, is to have Faraday complete the mission fully. Also, during negotiations, we discovered Justin's past trauma and realized that although she's a successful scientist, she's also a murderer. She puts unauthorized testing, causing the man that she loved and the father of her child overexposure to radiation. But in the process, she still actually achieved fusion for the first time ever, even though it was only for a mere second. But I mean, that was all that Faraday needed to know. Like, she's on the team. She's not going anywhere. Ain't nobody going to jail this today. Not today.
Not today.
So now we in business. Faraday and Justin is working on the patents, deciphering the alien language to human language. Although progress is being made, Faraday is still hitting the wall because he just don't even realize what he's making. He can't picture it at all. And on top of that, the fuel that was used to power the device is long past his 12-year expiration date, so he has no idea what to do. He's frustrated and he just starts wandering. As Faraday is testing the waters, he runs into an old woman named Watt, who seems to be provoking Faraday to kind of figure out what's going on in his head to kind of get him out of this kind of funk that he's in. While Faraday is kind of like going through the motions and he kind of tweaking out in a sense, if you would say. He kind of has a fight with himself, and you realize that Watt is literally just a figment of his imagination, the subconscious, if you will. So it kind of kickstarts him going and kind of gets to where he needs to be at. And from that, though, he has this revelation and understands what it is that he's making. And from that, he realized he has to kind of dive deeper into his humanity, or even the complexities of what it is to be a human, to kind of figure out how to master this mission in the best way possible. Start to learn the history of Anthea and the Earth and their connection through Watt. The past Earth and Anthea made some kind of planetary contact at some point, and they kind of gave each other a little bit of each other's energy. So in our sense, the Earth has a much larger core because of this Anthean touch, and Anthea actually kind of picked up on, I guess you would say, some of our culture. Because now, once the Antheans kind of took in some of our resources on their planet, they became and created a new species, which they also called adepts. So adepts were pretty much civilized version, or the more human version of an atheist. And anyone that wasn't pretty much an adept was a drone, which we all realized that Faraday was a drone. As Faraday begins to dive into the complexities of being human, we also discover that Josiah, Justin's father, is also going through his own transformations as well, as he's becoming more Anthean from getting the power and healing that he received from Faraday earlier in the season. We now understand that because of that, though, he's become an asset to Faraday, and they are able to actually complete and successfully complete the first test run of the fusion device, making it run successfully. Everyone finds out about this, including the CIA, Hatch, Edie, everyone knows about this at this point. So now we're going to get into the actual trouble of everything. So now that the device has proven its worth, Edie and Hatch attempt to cut a deal with the biggest oil tycoon, Pressman Thorne, who has to pull to help them get out of the connections with the CIA. But the CIA is also now aware of the device working, and the fact that they know it will never leave the warehouse. Clay makes an attempt on trying to find Thomas Newton for the first time ever, circling in on a hidden bunker in Cambodia that turned out to be a trap, killing his whole team, but also sends out a message to Anthea from Thomas Newton that no one knows what it means just yet. Faraday makes another attempt to contact Newton to get a better understanding on why he is in this place now, and why is he here?
Hey, why didn't you tell me? Would it have made you go any faster? If you knew they were watching, why did you risk contact?
The device is ready.
It took you this long.
We would have been well within our time frame.
What do you know about our time frame?
I know that if it was so fucking narrow, you might have given precise instructions.
Learning that Newton needed him to learn humanity, learn lying, learn deception, learn what it means to just be a human being. He needs to create this illusion that people would want from him. Faraday decides the best way to keep himself safe, to keep Justin safe, keep his family safe, everybody, is to actually go public, to tell everybody about what he's creating, to kind of give the world a sense of who he is. So with that being said, allow him to reintroduce himself. His name is Ferris Way. Cue his music. Boy, Ferris Way came in with all that black on straight business. Boy read the news reporter like an Oprah Winfrey bestseller. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately pulling the wool over himself as an alien he is. He was able to pretty much tell them that he's an alien without telling him he's an alien. And he even got a little bit of Justin on that moment too. All right, so now that Justin and Faraday is already getting ready to go public, they feel that they're safe. Clay begins his full-on rampage, backstabbing the only woman that had his back and taking the lead on the hunt for Newton and Faraday. In the meantime, Justin's informed on the Cambodia operation where the message was sent out from Newton. So Justin now confronts Faraday about this, where Faraday now has to go listen to the message himself, and he discovers the real truth behind Newton's plan, that neither of them is leaving Earth. And the truth is that Newton plans to bring everybody from the home planet to Earth. So Justin and Faraday realize that Clay and his team were on their way to the machine and possibly killed them because the message got sent out by Newton. Before they can get there, Faraday, Justin, Josiah destroy the device and escape, not after Faraday is fatally wounded though. With the hospital and doctors not being an option, they drive to the only person who has a strong connection to this planet and the people, and it's Newton's ex-lover, Mary Lou. While Faraday is being cared for, Clay starts an assault on Mary Lou and the women of the nunnery. Pure villain energy. Faraday's life is still saved by Josiah, returning the power that was once given to him back to Faraday. But it's too late to escape, and Faraday and Justin are both captured by Clay. Pure villain energy. Now this shit hit the fan. Justin and Faraday are hostages being interrogated by Clay, where Faraday tells Clay the actual plan from Newton. As they try to torture Faraday with old school human tactics, they discover he is pretty much immune to any of that pain except for the radiation, which we only got a glimpse of in the beginning of the story when Faraday was trying to make an attempt to leave by airplane in the airport. At this time, Watt appears again to pull now the tortured Faraday out of the situation with a second wind of chance. Faraday begins to take Clay down a dangerous path of questioning Russian roulette just to try to get him off his footing. They have a deep conversation about skin that calls back to my first mention about why he turned into a black man, if you go listen to here. And by the second and third question, Faraday explains the story of Clay's real mother and what happened to him as a child. Before we get to the climax of Clay trying to really figure out what really happened with his mother and why she left him, he believes that he actually has the answer. And before he can actually kill or try to kill Faraday, he is thwarted by his own partner. Rest in peace to Clay. Peace out. See you later. Good riddance. Get him out of here. He's gone. Finito. Bye-bye. In another twist, we discover that Clay's partner Lisa was actually working with Pressman Thorne the whole time. Faraday and Justin finally get to meet Thorne, and guess who it is? Yes, Thomas Newton.
So let's talk about the finale. Thorne is Newton, and things are going crazy. Now Faraday has all these questions like, why did Newton choose him? Why did he lie about them being able to go home? What's all these secrecies about? And of course the big one, which Anthony's are going to be chosen.
Hundreds.
Which ones?
The adepts. Not the drones.
And that's where things go left. Newton only wants to bring the adepts to Earth. They're not going to really need the drones because they're going to have new ones in the humans. Fam is mad at leaders right now, and Faraday and Justin are caught in the crossfire. So again, the question becomes asked, why Faraday?
Why?
If you're not going to need drones because you're going to have humans be the new drones, why not have the adepts carry out the mission? We find out it's because Faraday is special. He asks questions, so he's not really like the other drones. Again, Newton is elitist AF. Like anybody would be, Justin is disgusted by this, not really willing to help, and Faraday fell back into his drone-like mentality and is like really frozen in place. It was wild. So Justin tells them no, she's not helping, but then she's reminded that she really doesn't have any other way of leaving the jungle, so she might want to reconsider. Angrily, she stomps off, but then turns to Faraday and asks him, fam, you really gonna do this? You gonna sacrifice your family like that? And that sort of gets him. He goes out there, they're talking it through, a lot of yelling, a lot of emotions, and finally he gets through to her by telling her her family taught him how to be human, how to love.
Because I love her. And the way you forgive me, do you even realize what an act of love that is? And you do it without thinking. So how could I possibly stay blind to love around you?
That boy is good.
And that convinces her to help because she knows in her heart that she can trust him. Now, while all of this is happening, we also see the fallout from the killing of Clay. Officially, this went down that he committed suicide, and the CIA finds this kind of suspicious because this is the second time that somebody dealt with a spaceman and then they committed suicide.
That's suspicious.
But Drew and Lisa, they're committing the United Front. They're not really saying anything else, so that's all they can do. After the fact though, Lisa, she gets confronted and Drew tells her, fam, you cost me an asset. So now you are my asset. So from there, Lisa, things look a little rough for her. But Justin's reunited with her family. Faraday and Newton are able to work on the ship. And then we get that 3-month time jump. Basically, we're at where episode 1 started. Lisa, she comes to find Justin and asks her, how do you cope with knowing about these aliens? And gives her her mother's crucifix because she thinks she's gonna die soon and she doesn't want to die wearing it. Then we're taken back to where it all began. Kay Faraday's on the grand stage giving his speech, and only this time you see that there are MI6 agents basically lining the arena. The world's listening in, and as the agents start to close in, he's able to show off the quantum fusion engine. Finally, Drew gets to interrogate Faraday about the whereabouts of Thomas J. Newton. But before she can ask any question, he demands that Hatch and Justin be brought to the room. And what is truly a turnabout of fair play, Faraday turns every potential advantage that the government has into a liability. Hatch and Justin are now in charge of Thorne Oil, and every plan for the quantum fusion engine will be released in 12 hours unless they are all released and the Antheans are given asylum. Knowing that they're lost, the government falls to their demands with one request on their end: Thomas J. Newton. In the end, Thomas tells Faraday that he really didn't think that it would be him. Really, anybody but him. And leaves him with the knowledge that he will die if he brings back all the ant-demons. To which Faraday goes, I'll find a way. Letting him know that he does still love him and that he's proud of what he's done, Faraday and Newton walk out of the cave together. Hatch and Edie, they get some sense of closure in their relationship, as do Faraday, Justin, Molly, and Josiah. And the last scene we see is the spaceman heading home. So, obviously, everything was wrapped up. Sort of, there's still some questions that are lingering. But now you kind of wonder what's come from here. This is why we're hoping for that season 2, to see it all, see all our questions answered. And yeah. Thank you for watching our recap of The Man Who Fell to Earth. All episodes are streaming now on the Showtime app. Please like and share this video and hit the links below for all of our social media.
Like, everybody has the stereotypical on what a black geek is. Are you familiar with the term blurred?
Blurred, no.
Right. Some people said it came off of Scrubs. Some people said it came off the internet. I don't honestly really know.
Don't you see the skin, the eyebrows, the hair?
Yo, my geeks still rock, Dunks or Jordans or whatever.
Did I do that?
It's exciting. It's like, oh my dog is gonna start barking.
It's all right.
She's excited about it too.
And same as you said, like a barbershop talk, like we would go into really in-depth conversations about these theories and like, well, what if and how come?
It's not unusual to be loved.
Right, but we talk about anime, video games, comic books and stuff like that, but when you hear us talk about it, the passion sounds like we arguing Jordan and Bron.
What do you mean? What does that even mean? What does that even mean?
Like, it sounds like barbershop talk.
Because you don't know the history, don't mean it ain't happened, dog. You broke that down right there.
But when you see the black geek, you don't see that. You see the socially awkward glasses. Well, this is me. And that's not a lot of us. A lot of us do sound and talk like us. You know what I'm saying?
Because it becomes stereotypical, as if that's where our strength comes from.
I don't know the geek that you talked about before. I know the geek you're talking about right now, though.
It was sort of a call sign so we could find each other on message boards.
Anime gives you life lessons throughout that whole thing. Like, there's not one anime that I know of that doesn't teach you to never give up.
It's just like, I just love seeing us go into the world and go into these different spaces and create things that weren't there before.
And then it was like Miles Morales is like the normal, black person in the United States.
That was my first blurred moment, was seeing, Storm on the X-Men cartoon series. And I was like, wow, that's a black woman and she's strong, she's powerful.
That's what I want for us. I want us to be that voice.